Trump threw out a 28-point peace plan that shocked the entire world. To put it bluntly, it forces Ukraine to make major concessions on territory, army size, and weapons, essentially submitting to Putin. Honestly, this does not look like a ceasefire plan at all. It looks more like a Thanksgiving gift delivered straight to Putin. Trump threatened that Ukraine must respond before November 27th, as if he were repeating Vance's words. Have you even said thank you? In reality, Ukraine and Russia were brothers in the Soviet era. Despite some old grudges, for decades after Stalin's death, the Soviet Union treated Ukraine as its core industrial and agricultural base. Ukraine was undoubtedly the heart of the empire's economy. Khrushchev even transferred Crimea, a strategic military fortress that generations of Russians had won with blood, to Ukrainian administration. After the Soviet Union collapsed, the world's major powers promised to guarantee Ukraine's security in exchange for giving up nuclear weapons. This is precisely why Ukraine today cannot effectively resist Russian aggression. All 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, including China, bear responsibility for that. The United States bears the primary responsibility, because the dissolution of the Soviet Union was largely its doing. After the breakup, Ukraine could have maintained an ambiguous but peaceful relationship with Russia. Instead, to further weaken Russia, the United States and Western countries engineered color revolutions in Ukraine, brought right-wing populists to power, persecuted ethnic Russians inside the country, and tried to drag Ukraine into NATO, pointing a bayonet right at Russia's throat. Putin felt he had no choice but to strike first. Tragedy ensued. No matter what, I will always condemn the aggressor. Yet for Ukrainians, as a small country that was already deceived once by great powers when it gave up its nuclear weapons, how can they still trust Western promises and allow themselves to be deceived a second time? Western promises have never been worth anything, just like their original pledge that NATO would not expand eastward, which they now flatly deny. Nevertheless, Ukrainian populists and the clown Zelensky insisted on being American pawns, and war with Russia finally broke out. Yes, Westerners can mock the Russian army for its poor performance and failure to take Ukraine after several years. Yet the West's own capability is also mediocre. Dozens of countries have given full support and still failed to drive Russia back. While we argue over gains and losses on the map, an entire generation of Ukrainians is paying the price, and probably more generations will follow. The country has become a field of ruins. Millions have fled abroad. Those who remain at home can be forcibly conscripted at any moment and sent to the front as cannon fodder. No matter how much Zelensky's fans praise him, he has neither died on the battlefield to rally Ukrainians with his life, nor led Ukraine to recover lost territory. All he has brought Ukraine is today's dead end. Now, before Thanksgiving, he has to face reality, how to reply to the Americans. Accept a humiliating ceasefire agreement, or lose American aid and face Russia alone. The European Union says it will firmly support Ukraine, but let me be blunt, without American intelligence systems, Europe supplying only weapons cannot defeat Russia. In yesterday's video, I said Trump's decision is a major move that will reshape the international political landscape. It will become a key event recorded in future history books. Europeans need to think hard about whether the United States is still a trustworthy partner. Yes, all you American proxies, von der Leyen, Kaja Kallas, and the rest of you clowns who have been America's lapdogs for years, come out now and tell Europeans whether the United States deserves their trust. When American interests clash with European interests, whose side will you take? Now that the Americans want to abandon Ukraine, are your promises to Ukraine still valid? Are you willing to fight Putin directly yourselves? Do you have the courage and the capability? Trump demands a ceasefire in Ukraine and wants to invite Russia back into the G7 to restore the G8. His only goal is to pull Russia in to jointly confront China. Have Europeans already thought this through? Are you ready to ally with Russia against China? Can Ukraine, Poland, the Baltic states, and Finland accept this reality? Putin's appetite is large. Once he recovers his strength, He will certainly move against Western Ukraine and the Baltic states, at the very least to open a land corridor to Kaliningrad. Are Europeans willing to accept that? As for confronting China, I do not think Putin is that stupid. Trump's term has only 3 years left. During these 3 years, Russia's best strategy is to recover its strength and wait for the next American president. The chance of Americans electing another pro-Russia president is basically zero. After all, not everyone has dirt on file with Putin. So when people ask me whether China is worried about the United States and Russia joining forces against it, my answer is no. Russia has lost so many soldiers. The hatred between Russia and the West cannot be erased overnight. It is impossible for enemies to become friends in one night, and Putin would never be able to explain it to his own people. Moreover, China and Russia are now deeply bound in energy, trade, and many other fields. The price Russia would pay for betraying China is enormous. Putin no longer dares trust the West anyway. The tragedy of the Soviet Union trusting the West is the pain of his lifetime. What China needs to do is stay neutral and force the United States to choose one side between Europe and Russia. China can then team up with the side that is not chosen, maintain its living space, and expand strategic depth. The key weakness of the United States in its competition with China is that its industrial strength is far inferior to China's, while its technological lead is being rapidly overtaken. Changing allies cannot solve that problem. I also hope those Westerners who criticize China will go to a hospital and get their brains checked. It was you who provoked Russia. It is you who are now selling out Ukraine. The Chinese people have never participated in any Ukrainian conflict and have never asked for a single inch of Ukrainian land or a single mine. It is you Westerners who are making all the mess yourselves. Up to this day, China still repeatedly emphasizes respect for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The one forcing Ukraine to cede territory is your American daddy. Are you blind, or have you lost your conscience? Why do you not sever ties with the United States, yet rush to blame the Chinese?